All right, it's me again. I didn't know it was me. I thought it was going to be Crazy Horse, but you got me again for round two for the TFC regional fishing reports, where we're going to go to local area and we're going to have Eddie Weber, the Severn angler. I'm so excited to have him on the show. It's always fun to chat with him. But before we get into it, just reminders again that we are still selling our TFC performance shirts, and you can get them at thefishingchannel.net. Also, joining our TFC Plus through our YouTube page is definitely encouraged. Why? Because all of our TFC correspondents on our regional fishing reports are on this team. So you get exclusive content from people like Eddie Weber. I want some hot tips from Eddie Weber on how to fish for pickerel that you don't get to see in our live shows. So I definitely recommend joining. It's $5 a month, and you get Eddie Weber, you get Stephen Camboris, also Cambo Trout, Seal Marshall, Captain Massa from Georgia. We have correspondents from Florida. We're hitting all the regions, and we're going to go nationwide. So eventually we're going to have fishing reports from all over the United States on TFC Plus. So get in on it today. So without further ado, we're going to have our 2-minute bite with Eddie Weber. And what's going on with Pickerel?
Hey, how are you?
How are you doing? It's nice to see you.
Doing well. Good to see you too.
So let's get into it. We got 2 minutes to do a quick, whatever you got.
Quick update
on Pickerel.
Absolutely. So luckily the bite has definitely picked up over the last week or so, about 10 days. The beginning of the month was pretty rough, actually, with the red tide that came through.
Yes.
That was really bad in the Severn. It's actually the second or third time it's come through this winter in the Severn, which has been tough. I don't think it hit the northern rivers as bad, but it was still pretty rough for them as well. From everything I've seen, it's pretty much cleared up. Haven't been out on the Severn too much, but some of my buddies were saying that it's clear in the Severn, which is good. And I went out to a river a little bit north of the Severn and did pretty well last weekend. So I was happy that the bite seems to be back.
Right on.
And the big fish are coming out. So you're seeing more and more big fish getting caught, which is exciting too. They're kind of getting fired up, it seems.
What's big fish? What size is that for you?
24 plus. Yeah. So citation is 24. Nice. That's the ones that we're definitely looking for. 24 plus. I'd love to get into that 25, 26 that I know is out there. So yeah.
I'm excited about that. Yeah, Grant and I are prayerfully going out tomorrow, pending weather.
I know. Every time we try to hook up with Grant or something like that, it's blown 15.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've seen.
We'll make it happen. Don't worry.
I've seen some diehard people like Scott Kemout going out there and getting his thing done.
I know.
So what are you using to catch these great size pickerel?
Yeah, so I brought a couple demos here. So this is, I always forget which side the camera's on, but this is a little bit of a smaller profile paddle tail. What's up, Mark? So this is actually from a company called Amy Baits on Instagram that I found. And I really like this smaller profile. This is the high octane jig head and the underspin. So It's about a 3.5-inch profile. So I did pretty well on that. Definitely downsizing to that 3.5-3-inch size. I've changed up a little bit to more of a different profile jerkbait also.
Like that.
This is actually a Mega Bass 4-inch. It's not 3.5, 4-inch. I like this one because it has a little bit different profile than the X-Wrap
Right.
does. It's got kind of a wider body, and they just seem to be chasing more of those shad, and that's a really good shad imitation right there.
Mhm.
And this it's a smaller than this kind of X wrap. I think this is the 10, and then this is the 8.
Yes.
So it's kind of right in between those two sizes.
Lip
Which
also
I
helps
really like.
getting down a little bit further, particularly now in the wintertime, right? When the pickerel are probably a little bit deeper. What do you think?
Yeah, no, exactly. They're definitely holding in more of that 3 to 5 foot depth.
Right.
Some of the smaller ones are up near structure in the shallows, but the deep ones are definitely cruising around in that 3 to 5 channel edges, or if you can find a flat area that has just a flat area, they'll just be cruising around. I was really surprised that we were catching them out in the middle of this kind of 5 foot area around no structure at all, but they were just cruising around, and we were kind of casting in the middle, catching them. It was different, but it was fun.
Yeah, it's worth a try to fan cast. Heck,
Yes.
I do whatever it takes.
Exactly. That's what you got to do.
So what about technique? Because now we're dealing with colder temperatures, colder waters. On some days, I mean, we're still getting an unseasonably warm winter here. I mean, we have yet to experience a true winter.
I know. I'm a little afraid of February, to be honest.
Me too.
I think it's coming. But yeah, these for technique, the jerk bait is a real tried and true winter bait. And I'll throw it out there and either straight retrieve, very slow, within a quick reel.
I like that.
And I had one on Saturday that as soon as I did that quick reel, he slammed it. So that quick reel, when it's just going along and then it jerks a little bit, that can get the reaction strike. Or I'll cast it out there and do that twitch pause, let it sit for just a couple seconds, and then twitch pause again. You kind of just have to feel what they want that day.
Right.
And then I do kind of similar thing with with my little paddle tail. I'll throw it out there and do kind of a jerk back to the boat. Less of as a straight retrieve with these, but more of kind of jigging it back to the boat, because a lot of times you're pretty tight to the bottom. You're kind of bouncing it off the bottom back to the boat.
All right. I like that setup. Can you show it one more time, please?
Yep.
What I like about that, when I think I did the screw, but you kept the tail, and you have a little chatter going on in the front there. So is this already set up, or is this something that you created?
This is something that I created. So you put actually Z-Man sells these underspins. So it's a little bit different than the high octane torpedo spin that you can definitely use. This is a hot ticket for me, always on the line. But sometimes they want just something different. And this is a blade, and it's for the Z-Man because it has this little pokey little stopper thing, if you will. So it goes into the bottom of the paddle tail just a little bit easier. But yeah, the high octane torpedo spin would work really well on that too.
Yeah, I've used that. Eddie Weber, the Severn angler, does Tackle Tip Tuesdays, right? That's still going on throughout the winter. Definitely tune in and check him out with his tackle tips. So how do people do that? Is there a particular site? Where can we direct people to go to watch your tackle tips and other amazing videos? Yeah,
absolutely. So my Instagram, so right down there at Severn River Angler. Try to post every Tuesday. Sometimes I'm racking my brain, and it helps when I go out fish that day. I take as many notes as I can and say, I got to remember to do that, or get them from friends sometimes that shoot me a thing and give me suggestions. So it's been a fun thing, and I can't believe I'm still coming up with different ideas. It's been going on for about a year, and I think I've only missed 1 or 2 weeks. So
yeah,
pretty proud of that.
I appreciate your dedication, because your tips are always helpful, and who better to seek advice from than the Severn angler.
I
Right? So
appreciate it.
Eddie grew up on this river, so he knows what he's talking about. So definitely recommend tuning in.
I did. Yeah.
So that is our quick 2-minute bite. We're still going to talk fishing report, but we're going to take questions. And I also want to remind you that we do have questions at evening, and Eddie gets to choose.
Great.
So tonight's awesome prize pack is from our sponsor, Old School Tackle. And Brian Dolph was gracious enough to give us really cool things to give away. So we have a 3/8-ounce 4-pack jig head, and it's kind of like a sparkly gold. What do you think about this one, Eddie?
Absolutely. They love that gold. They love gold. So, I have a gold paddle tail. This is from Old School right here.
Nice.
It's my go-to for my torpedo spins. He doesn't love that I take the tails off, that's for sure, but they're great plastics. This is his Eastern Shore Champagne, I think it's called.
Okay.
It's gold, got some gold flake in there, black, and Brian does a great job.
Yes, he does. So he also gave us 3 3/4 hammer smoking shimmer. I love the names of these. It gets me excited.
They are.
So what do you think about paired these two? What are you thinking, Eddie?
They look great. I think I might have something similar in my box right here.
Nice.
So, you guys picked good ones.
Thank you. So get your questions in quick, because this show goes really fast. Before you know it, we're going to be announcing question of the evening, and we hope it's going to be one of people from our audience tonight. So yeah. Eddie, let's roll in further into the regional fishing report for your area. So we're talking pickerel. One thing I'm thinking, is there a tournament going on right now for pickerel?
There are. I'm doing the CCA tournament, and yeah, it's as popular as ever right now, which is great. I think there's like 95 anglers in there, which is really exciting. Yep. Also doing a local Eastern Shore tournament with some guys. Did a Severn River exclusive tournament with a group, so that was pretty fun. That ended at the end of December. So yeah, there's pickerel are growing in popularity and growing in respect. I think a lot of people, buddy tagged me this week about a lot of people think that pickerel are kind of a trash fish. All the bass guys are upset when they catch pickerel because they butt off their lures and stuff like that. But man, they get me through the winter. I love them.
Yes, everybody does. What I like about pickerel and freshwater fishing in general, it requires a great deal of skill. Not comparing any other type of fishing, but they really make you work for it, because you have to really understand what's going on with the fish, just like any type of fishing. But there's something unique, and to me at least, very challenging about freshwater fishing, particularly in the winter when you have to slow things down. And from people we've had on the show, we know that it can be really hard, especially if you're using the jigging motion and just slowing it down. And really willing to try various things and techniques and be patient.
No, I totally agree, and it's more of a precise casting fishing too. Certain spots, certain structure. Those bites can be super subtle too, so it really does test your skills and your patience out there, especially when it's 30 degrees and you got all your stuff on, and man, that one or two fish makes it super rewarding.
For sure. So we got a question or questions coming in. So let's start rolling the questions. Rodney Green, how you doing, Rodney? With the larger fish biting, do you size up in lure size?
No, I actually don't. I find that the biggest fish, I caught a 20. No, I did catch a 24.5 on this little 3.5-inch paddle tail. It's not really like rockfish, like in the winter where you're throwing those 10-inch baits because that they're sitting on the bottom and they don't want to move to eat anything but that thing that they're going to eat that day. Right. They're definitely cruising around and looking for bait, and I find that Yeah, those smaller lures. Actually, I'll go from like 4 inch in the fall time and then downsize in the winter time, and I find that actually gets me better bites downsizing than bigger baits.
Wow. And
Mm-hmm.
it got a good sized fish for Eddie. So
It
I would
did.
follow what he's saying.
It did.
Flip of all trades. Question. Can you elaborate on red tide? How common is it in this area and how it can be prevented? That's a tough one.
Yeah, that is a tough one. That's a great question, though. It seems to happen. I don't know the exact cause of it, but it seems to happen after we get a lot of rain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's way more common in the springtime when the algae it's an algae bloom. So you'll see it, and they call it a red tide because it literally looks like almost like pollen on top of the water and under the water, which is really weird, especially when you see it in the wintertime because it's obviously not pollen. But it's like red streaks of algae, and it can come through and do some pretty serious fish kills because it takes up a lot of the oxygen. So it seems to happen after big rains when we get just a lot of runoff and it's mixed with the water and just some kind of chemical reaction. And we got kind of like some higher temperatures that couple days. So I don't know if that kind of helped with or hurt with the warmer water and the warmer rain. Preventing it, it's a good question too, because we've gotten it at least three times this year in the Severn. We got it once last year. So it's definitely not a good trend. I think it has to do a lot with runoff. So that's a good question. I have to dig in more into the Severn River Association and ask how it can be prevented.
Yeah, I think it's a like a biologist question.
It
I
is.
actually can think of a fisherman who is a biologist, so I can certainly ask him as well,
Yeah.
and we can post something on it. But if he finds something too, we're open to find
Yep.
what's going on and if there's any solutions and how we can help. So Robert Figliosi, also one of our sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Is it best to cast to the shore when the water is pushing up to possibly bring bait, or is it best to fish the more still water covered up by land blocking wind? And Robert Figliosi knows how to get his fish.
Yeah. No, I like that question too.
Yeah.
So I think I'm following it. So it kind of depends on how much wind. So if there is a light wind, I will definitely target those banks that the wind is pushing into, because the bait is going there and they're definitely a little more active along those shorelines where the wind is pushing into. Now, if the wind is really anything over like 7, if there's like serious ripples or waves on the water, pickerel don't like that. They'll go and hide in more of those shallow, not shallow, but more of those calm coves. And you can kind of pick them off where maybe it's calm and the wind's coming by a laydown or something like that they're kind of hiding from that wind.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely don't like high wind bank areas. But then again, I've also been finding them more in deeper areas as well and less around structure. But that's a great place to target kind of earlier in the fall, or like December time is when I'll kind of use that tactic.
All right, great tip. Very important. Thank you. So another question, John Whitman, where should I look in the rivers for pickerel? Up in the smaller water or more open waters?
Yeah, definitely toward the headwaters of the creeks, of the rivers.
Right.
But not too shallow right now. Like in the fall time when it's a little warmer, they'll be in that 1 to 2 feet. But now they're more in the creek mouths, a little more open water around that 5 to 8 foot area.
Okay, great tip. Great question. One more question. Stephen, what kind of rod and reel combo do you like for pickerel? How do you set your drag? That's a very important question. Setting the drag, so important.
That is a good question. That's a good question, Steve-O. So I use a medium or medium light, not extra light or not light. I like a good backbone to the rod to set the hook and really get them in. Reel like 2,000 to 3,000. Not too far off from what I use for my rockfish stuff. For the reel wise, drag, I set it kind of tight. I don't let them play with it too much because if it, for me at least, the more pickerel are notorious for getting off the hook. As soon as I get them in the net, they spit the hook almost every time. So I don't want them like taking big runs, playing around in the water with it. I use 10-pound braid and like a 25 or 30-pound leader. So I know that I have plenty of line to get them in, keep them tight, and just get them in the net as quick as I can.
Awesome tip. I'm going to adjust my rod. All that there. So great questions, everybody. But we have run out of time, unfortunately. So much to talk about. I just
always go so fast. I love it.
I feel like we're just getting started. So who do you choose for question of the evening?
What am I gonna do? I like the red tide question and kind of elaborating on that. Yeah.
Here we go. Flip of all trades. Congratulations. You win the awesome old school super duper pack that is endorsed by Eddie Weber.
Absolutely love it.
Oh yes. Grant asked me to show this again so everybody can take a gander because it is a good one.
They're great.
3/8 ounce 4-pack jig head and 3 3/4 hammer smoking shimmer.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. They love that gold.
And for those of you who haven't won, thank you for your questions, but definitely go onto the Old School Tackle Company .com page, and also you can find them on Facebook and Instagram as well. When we show this on replay, we'll tag those links in as well. But again, Old School Tackle Company, definitely check them out.
They make great stuff.
For sure. Yeah. And Brian Dolph works really hard on putting these things together and creating them. So we thank everybody for tuning in. This has been so much fun as usual, Eddie.
Thank you
so much. Any last words before we sign off?
I think that's it. I have my gear. I'm wearing my Snakehead Fishing Hooked Forever shirt right now and my hat, Severn River Angler hat. You can message me on my Instagram, and I'll be at the Pasadena show coming up in February, and I'll see you guys this weekend at the Kent Island show. Looking forward to that.
Yes, so we'll be posting the schedule, but Eddie Weber will be at, as mentioned, he said that he's going to be at our table at the Kent Island Fisherman show, and look forward to seeing you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Stay tuned. We're going to go to Florida for our next regional fishing report. So have a good night, everybody.
Nice.
Fish on. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.